Jesus who loves the children and youth. When we read what it teaches, we can receive heaven's truth. It tells us that the God above has a plan for this lost world. It tells us that this God of love cares for each boy and girl. I believe what Jesus says to me. I believe in the Bible.
Hi friends, welcome back to another episode of our program, I Believe, where we are learning the 28 basic beliefs of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. My name is Jonathan.
And I am Sister Michelle. Today we will be covering another basic belief called the Great Controversy. What is a controversy?
A controversy is a disagreement, but in this case, the disagreement started in the perfect place called heaven, before creation, when Satan began to disagree with God, which led to an actual war. We can find the story in Revelation 12:7-9. And war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought with the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought, but they did not prevail, nor was a place found for them in heaven any longer. So the great dragon was cast out, that serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. He was cast to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Before Satan was known as Satan, he was a beautiful and perfect angel named Lucifer, which means bearer of light. He was the leader of the angels of heaven.
So how did he become evil?
It says in Ezekiel 28:15 that Lucifer was perfect until wickedness was found in him. He became proud and wanted to rule heaven himself.
What happened then?
Many angels took Lucifer's side and joined him in the fight against God. They lost the battle and were thrown out of heaven.
Didn't Satan show up in the Garden of Eden after that?
Yes, when God created Adam and Eve, he gave them a beautiful garden home. He had amazing plans for them. But first, he needed to give them a choice. God allowed Adam and Eve to choose which ruler they wanted to follow, Satan or Jesus. And unfortunately, they were tempted by Satan and subject to sin for all generations to come.
Wow, everyone after them also chose to sin?
Sad, but yes. We see the consequence of that sin even in Adam and Eve's children, Cain and Abel. When Abel showed loyalty to Jesus, Cain murdered him.
But there were still some people loyal to Jesus after that, right?
Yes, but only a few people could be considered faithful.
Like Abraham and Jacob, Joseph and Moses, Samuel, Elijah, and Daniel. Some of my favorite heroes.
Through them, God did amazing things. But the most amazing of them all would be the promised one that would come to save the world.
Jesus! He came to live with us and die for our sins.
When Jesus died on the cross, he fully revealed Satan's true character, and all the heavenly beings were now 100% sure that God is true and good, and that Satan is an evil liar.
But the war isn't fully over yet, is it?
Satan was defeated at the cross, but he still hates God and his law. Since then, he has been trying very hard to destroy God's people, especially now that we are at the end of time. But this will fail in the end, and all evil will be destroyed forever.
That's the best news ever, and this war is what our sentence talks about today. All humanity is involved in a terrible war which started in heaven when a perfect angel chose pride and became Satan. He led a rebellion against God. Then he led Adam and Eve to sin and put into question the character of God before the universe.
All humanity's involved in a terrible war which started in heaven. All humanity's involved in a terrible war which started in heaven. When a perfect angel chose pride and became Satan. He led a rebellion against God. He led a rebellion against God. Then he led Adam and Eve to sin and put into question the character of God. Before the universe, he questioned the character of God. He questioned the character of God, the character of God.
The world is on a stage. The angels and other beings of the universe want to know how this war will end. They saw Jesus die, and they have seen the terrible effects of sin. They are watching eagerly to see what each of us will choose, good or evil. 1 Corinthians 4:9 says, "We have been made a spectacle to the world, both to angels and to men."
One of Satan's most clever tricks is to make truth and lies look the same. Here are some of his tricks. He makes people think the church is more important than Jesus. He makes people think they have to confess their sin to a human being instead of Jesus. He makes people think they can get to heaven by being good, and many other lies.
I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing, therefore choose life, that both you and your descendants may live, that you may love the Lord your God, that you may obey his voice, and that you may cling to him, for he is your life, for he is your life. Deuteronomy 30:19 and 20.
For today's science experiment, we will see what happens when we burn sugar and baking soda. Here are the materials you need: a large container and a small container, some sand, sugar, baking soda, rubbing alcohol, a spoon, and matches. Since this experiment involves fire, you will also need an adult to help you. I will first make a small little hole in the center of the container. Then I will pour 1/8 cup of rubbing alcohol into the center of the sand. I will now measure 4 teaspoons of sugar and 1 teaspoon of baking soda and mix. The powder that we just created will go on the wet sand. Lastly, I will light the sugar and watch what happens. It's so surprising to see how the fire makes this black snake grow out of the sugar and baking soda mixture. The heat makes the baking soda form carbon dioxide while it makes the sugar caramelized. Together, they seem to grow this snake out of nowhere, which reminds me of how sin started in the heart of Lucifer. He was perfect, but then he became proud and sin grew in his heart. This is how the great war between good and evil started. We call it the Great Controversy.
Be sober, be vigilant, because your
lesson is called Time to Choose. Have you ever been to a town called Gabbs, Nevada? Probably not. It's a very small community, about 110 miles east of Reno, Nevada. But let's suppose that you did visit there, and that when you were ready to leave, you headed south on Nevada's State Route 361. After traveling just about 30 miles, you would have a choice to make. You could turn right to head north on US Route 95, or you could turn left to head south on US Route 95. Would it matter which way you went? It certainly would, because US Route 95 extends all the way from Mexico to Canada. If you turn left and head south, it's about 600 miles to the Mexican border. If you turn right and head north, it's well over 900 miles to the Canadian border. These two destinations are quite different, aren't they? And they're quite far apart from each other. Far more important, though, than deciding which way to travel on a highway is the decision each one of us has to make about which side we take in the great controversy between Jesus and Satan. Will we be loyal to Jesus and show it by our love for him and obedience to his law? Or will we choose Satan as our master and show it by rebelling against God and his law? Does it matter which way we choose, whether we choose to follow Jesus or Satan? It certainly does, because the end results of those two choices couldn't be farther from each other. One results in eternal life, while the other results in eternal death. Which one will you choose?
Are they not all ministering spirits sent forth to minister for those who will inherit salvation? Are they not all ministering spirits sent forth to minister for those who will inherit salvation? Hebrews 1:14.
And that brings us to the end of our program about the great controversy. Hope you learned a lot.
We'll see you next time. Have a great week.
All humanity's involved in a terrible war which started in heaven when a perfect angel chose pride and became Satan. He led a rebellion against God. He led a rebellion against God.